So we got our new 2020 iMac this month, and not surprisingly, it's a spec bump to the iMac that we've had for several years now, but there are rumors that a much bigger redesign is in the works, and I want to go big and crazy and spec out the iMac of the future. Hello, my name is Brad, and I review tech for creative professionals, and today I wanted to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. I want to talk about my dream artist Mac setup, and I think that Apple might be able to pull it off with their next iteration of the iMac. Some of this stuff may seem pie in the sky, but looking at the switch to Apple Silicon and many of the changes coming to Big Sur, it might not be as far off as you think it is. I think we should number this. So first thing I want is, boom, a giant iPad Pro on a stand. There have been a lot of rumors to the effect that Apple is taking some of the design language, the design cues from the iPad Pros and bringing those to the Mac line in general, specifically the newer iMacs. I love the rounded corners the iPad Pro has. It has some pretty slim bezels, and if you spread that out over a giant 27-inch or bigger display, this is going to look amazing. In the process, you're probably going to lose the iMac's chin and a place to put an Apple logo, but that's okay, we could deal with that. The other way Apple could go with this is bringing in some of the design cues from their Pro XDR display that released earlier this year. Now, the bezels on that thing are tiny. I do get the appeal of that, but I hope that they don't go in that direction. I like the rounded corners and the edges better. I would love to see them round the screen a little bit in the corners like they do on the iPad Pros. Those sort of subtle corners aren't something that you see in laptop design too much. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it in a laptop. However, if you look at the design of Apple's new OS that's coming out this fall, Big Sur, they're rounding the edges on everything there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this in future laptops and desktop computers. In order to get something as fully functional as a desktop PC into something as thin as an iPad Pro, something major has to change. And that brings us to want number 2, Apple Silicon. Any Macs going forward are almost assuredly going to be running on Apple's new chips instead of Intel's. If this comes out next fall, we'll be a year and a half into the transition, so it makes sense that those new chips would be ready for a desktop computer by then. Now, what everybody wants to know about Apple's new silicon is how does it stack up performance-wise to Intel? The geeks are going to be benchmarking the living daylights out of this thing, so it makes sense for Apple to roll these out in a laptop first, like the MacBook or the MacBook Air. If you roll these out in a laptop first, you can say, whoa, look at what we've done to the battery life, or whoa, look, we've put Face ID on a laptop, and people aren't going to care so much if the performance is equal to or slightly less than an Intel chip. Consumers care more about the tangible benefits of a product than the raw performance numbers. In an iMac, some of those things like battery life just aren't quite as beneficial. In fact, they're not beneficial at all, but performance is. If it isn't as good at video rendering or compiling code, you're definitely going to hear about it. When I think of the A-series chips Apple's used up to this point, I think of fanless devices like iPads and iPhones. I do wonder what Apple could do if they put these in a desktop computer and they can just pump more power into them. Would that mean an iMac would need a fan? That wouldn't be the end of the world, but it also would make it thicker as well. Now, the next few things on this list are a little more pie in the sky, but before I get to those, I want to thank today's sponsor, Clean My Mac X. Your most important tool for getting things done is your Mac. Working, studying, drawing, it may be getting slower and more cluttered, which impacts your productivity. Clean My Mac X is the app that handles these issues and helps you top off your Mac's performance. The app combines a range of features like scanning, organizing, deleting files, and you save that oh so valuable hard drive space and processing power. Clean My Mac X also helps you get better performance by eliminating unused application caches and support files. So if you're using the Adobe suite, good news, you're about to save some hard drive space. Its malware protection can defend you against viruses, and best of all, the tool is notarized by Apple, so it's an absolutely safe software product for your Mac. Product Hunt once referred to this as the Mary Kondo for your Mac. Keeping your mind and workspace clear is the key to being focused and productive, so click on the link down below in the description to eliminate those time wasters and distractions, junk files, and malware pop-ups from your Mac with Clean My Mac X. Want number 3, we're talking about a touchscreen. Wait, what? I know. I've said for years that Apple isn't going to be launching a touchscreen Mac anytime soon, so stop asking, just not gonna happen. My opinion became more cemented into place with the release of Sidecar last year. I thought this might be an opportunity for Apple to sneak some touchscreen support into the Mac ecosystem, but it wasn't. Touch was used in only a very rare case, like pinching and zooming in Photoshop. Otherwise, you had to use the Apple Pencil, but that was only supported supported in a handful of apps. Sidecar made it clear Apple was not going to make the Mac a touch interface. But looking at Big Sur, we could see that changing. It's a much more touch-friendly interface with more space around many of the interface elements, and it's looking in general more iOS-y. Why would you do that? Maybe this is a step towards more of a touch interface on the Mac. Makes a ton of sense, and this is a very Apple way of doing things. Don't announce a big feature and then drop the ball on it and fix it later. Instead, slowly and steadily create the infrastructure that you need for that feature and then release it when it's fully baked. But, and this is a big but, there are so many considerations that go into changing your primary input device on your interface that go above and beyond just making the interface elements larger. Like, yeah, that is a step in the right direction. You need to do that, but how do you handle hover states, right clicks, drag and drop, and a mouse? A mouse can string all of those actions together in a way that a finger or a stylus just can't. And the Mac interface relies a lot on those interactions. So Big Sur is not yet ready to be a touch interface. However, by next fall, we're going to have another Apple operating system on our hands. So Big Sur could just be that first step to what might ultimately be a touch-based Mac interface. Want number 4, I want them to straight up steal the Hinge from the Microsoft Surface Studio. I really don't care who on the internet screams about it or how many hate videos get posted on this here website, but it is a dang shame that one of the coolest computer designs in the world is hampered by inferior specs and performance and that dang Surface Pen that just wiggles and jiggles everywhere. It's so unfortunate. I would love to see Apple try to pull off the same thing. And really, that was just a setup for want number 5, which is Apple Pencil support. Okay, you probably all knew this was coming because I put an Apple Pencil in the thumbnail, but also because I'm me. This is what I talk about. This is what I've wanted for years. Look, I think Steve Jobs was right when he said nobody wants to take a stylus and reach up to a screen, especially an iMac screen. But I think if that is something that you can reach up and pull down, like the Microsoft Surface Studio, all of a sudden you have an amazing workstation that would work so well with the Apple Pencil. I think this is probably one of the bigger problems and probably less likely to happen because artists and illustrators, I'm sorry to say it, we're a niche market. I think you can say on an iPad, people carrying around a pencil can also take notes and there's all sorts of other things you can do with it. Nobody's gonna wanna take notes on an iMac. All right, let's move on to want number 6. This is the nano texture glass screen. Now, this is something that Apple rolled out on their Pro XDR display earlier this year, and it's on the newest version of the iMacs. What the nano texture is a matte finish that refracts the light in such a way that you don't get that grainy look to it. And it also adds a little bit of texture to the screen, which sounds absolutely fantastic to draw on. Just one catch, and I'm getting to a lot of catches now. Apple sends out a very specific cleaning cloth with special instructions on how to take care of this new glass screen, and that leads me to think that this might not hold up well with excessive palm oils and pokey pencils always banging on that screen. It could damage it, which would be another thing that would hold Apple off from putting it on a future iMac, or at least an iMac that was designed to draw on. If they can pull this off, it would be nice to see them lower the price a little bit. It's a $500 option on the newer iMacs. It's a $1,000 option on the Pro XDR display. I know there's going to be a lot of comments like Apple rips people off, that's insane. What Apple tends to do is try to recoup their R&D costs early on a lot of things. Also, they take certain items and they price them high just to make them seem high. But it's not uncommon for Apple to take technology once they've paid off those initial investments and roll it out to the rest of the line. For example, the Apple Pencil itself first came out on the iPad Pros, very expensive, and now they've rolled it out to even the lowest, most inexpensive iPad, which is a phenomenal value. Want number 7, a front-facing camera. I know that already exists. I'm talking about a really good front-facing camera. Give them something like what you're putting in the back of the iPhone. This is something they did upgrade in the new iMacs, but I think this is one thing that's becoming more and more of a necessity now that more of us are working from home, and I think this is something that you're going to see not just Apple, but a lot of computer manufacturers really focusing on over the next couple computer design cycles. We're going to see big jumps forward in camera technology in laptops, and I think the iMac that's coming up in the future could really set the standard and set Apple apart. So that is my list. Some of this stuff is clearly pie in the sky, but what do you think? Is this all possible? Am I nuts? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.